Hello, and how are you doing, my good friends? I hope you are doing fine, and from our side, we are okay. So, welcome again to our channel. And in this video, I want us to discuss about when is the right time to ask for Form I-134, affidavit of support from your host for DV Lottery Winners 2025. So to begin with, Form I-134, affidavit of support, is not needed in all the embassies or consulates, but some of the regions participating in the DV lottery do ask for this form. Form I-134, it is required as a proof that you have someone in the United States who will receive you, give you accommodation, and provide for you before you start standing on your own, such that you do not end up being a public charge. Public charge here means you ending up in the streets, being homeless, or you start depending on the government stipends or government subsidies, or depending on the government on low-income houses, or requesting for food stamps. So that's why this Form I-134 is very important for the DV immigrants who are moving to the United States after they have passed through their interviews. So when are you supposed to request this form from your host? And who is supposed to fill it? So those are some of the questions that you need to understand. When are you supposed to request this form, and who is supposed to fill this form? So let's go on with our discussion. You can only start requesting or reminding your host about Form I-134 immediately your case number becomes current. In our previous videos, we discussed about your case being current. That one means that your case is within the visa bulletin and the cutoff numbers for that month. So when you see your case number within the cutoff numbers, you know that anytime soon you are going to receive your second notification letter, commonly known as 2NL. Therefore, this form cannot be requested earlier than the time you receive your 2NL or when your case becomes current, because it contains very sensitive information about your host, and that is why most of the hosts will prefer sending this form after you receive your second notification letter, such that they minimize or shorten the time that you will stay with this form and its supporting documents before you go for your interviews. So they normally think that if they send this form earlier than that, you will be able to stay with it longer, and the chances of this form being refilled to some other people are not supposed to know the information are so high. So that is why most of the hosts will tell you when you are due or when you are about to go for your interviews, your requests, I will be able to send this form to you. So you need to be very keen on that. And for you DV selectees, once you receive this form I-134 and its accompanying documents from your host, please keep it away from the public and treat it with a lot of confidentiality and the trust that has been given to you by your host. So, who is supposed to fill this form now? Form I-134 is a 13-page document or form containing sections where the DV selectee and the host or the sponsor needs to fill and sign. Therefore, it's advisable for you as the DV selectee to download this form, fill your part, and once you are done, send the same form to your host to fill his or her part. And make sure that your host signed this form before scanning it and sending it back to you. Without the signature put on that paper or that form by your host, it means that it is not valid. So make sure there's a section where your host needs to sign. Make sure that your host signs that area. And once you receive the scanned form I-134 and its accompanying documents like the tax transcripts, W-2 forms, copy of the green card, or copy of the driving license, or copy of naturalization certificate, you will need to print all this and carry the hard copy to the interview. So at the interview, they need you to present the hard copy of all those things that I've mentioned. That is your affidavit of support from I-134, 13-page, and it is supporting documents as I have quoted them up there. As I already said, this form I-134 is not required by every embassy, but it is good to have it in case you are asked about it. You give it to the people who are interviewing you. You give it to the consular officer if they ask you about this form. So it's good to prepare about it, have it in advance, and to be on the safe line. This is to avoid situations where this form is asked and you fail to produce, and definitely if you fail to produce any document during the interview, they will give you a yellow paper and put you on administrative processing under section 221G under missing or incomplete documents. So you will stay with the yellow paper under AP after the time you produce or you give them the document which was missing during your interview. So that's why we normally tell you that it is good to over-prepare for the interview than to under-prepare for that interview. Over-preparing means that you prepare for all, even unnecessary documents. Just carry them. In case they ask you during the interview, you'll be able to provide that document.